Hey, good morning, Crossroads. Good to see everybody. Welcome. Merry Christmas to you. Welcome everybody on the lower arena, everybody up in the upper balcony, everybody watching online. We're so glad that you are with us, and I just want to continue what GJ was just telling us about there with Christmas Eve. I'm telling you guys, this is the best time to invite somebody to church, and here's why. Because people are more likely to come to a Christmas Eve service than they are any other service throughout the year. Now, you might think, well, what about Easter? Not everybody celebrates Easter, but everybody celebrates Christmas. And everybody likes all the feels of the candle lights and the carols and all that, and they're going to get that at our Christmas Eve service. Plus, as was mentioned, we've got the Grammy-nominated contemporary Christian music artist Danny Gokey, American Idol finalist. It's going to be off the chain, awesome. You're going to want to make sure that you are here and you bring a friend. Now, why do I tell you that? Because every year we do Christmas Eve, people leave here and they go, man, I wish I would have brought somebody. I wish I would have brought my neighbor. I want you to get ahead of that and not have Christmas regret. I want you to have an incredible Christmas because you invited somebody to be here with you. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, it's easy to strike out at this. I strike out all the time. Last year, we'd only been here a couple of months. My wife and I invited all of our neighbors. They all politely declined, except for one. And that was the people that we bought the house from. And I think they felt obligated, you know? I mean, you bought my house, I should go to your church, all right? So anyway, they don't have the obligation, but we're still going to invite them. We're still going to invite everybody we possibly can, and I want you to invite people as well. This is really simple, okay? Let me just put it very easy for you. We're going to give you little handouts and all that, and you can pass it out to somebody, but just say, hey, do you have a church that you're going to on Christmas Eve? If they say yes, say, God bless you, I want to hear all about it when it's done. But if they say no, say you would be more than welcome to join us for one of our Christmas Eve services. And then they might say, well, we do a big thing for dinner. And you say, no problem. We have a 3 o'clock service. And if they say, well, we usually eat a little early. That's okay. We have a 7 o'clock service. If they say, really, we got a tight window. The only free time we have is from 5 to 6. We have a 5 o'clock service as well. Okay, well, we got young kids. We have space for them. We like to sit in a different room than everybody else. We got that as well. We prefer to see Santa. He'll be here. I don't know. But just whatever it takes, do whatever it takes, anything short of sin, to invite somebody for Christmas Eve. So I'm going to be praying for your neighbors to say yes. Would you pray for my neighbors to say yes? I'm going to pray for your coworkers to say yes. You don't have to pray for my coworkers. They're obligated to be here. Okay? So we're going to have an amazing day on December 24th, 3, 5, and 7. You're not going to want to miss it. You've already seen some of the photo ops that are around the building right now. A great place for you and your family to get some holiday photos and share those out with people and say Merry Christmas. It's just going to be awesome. Okay, if you have your Bible, open up to Luke chapter 2. You might have guessed we were going there during a Christmas series. And we're going to be talking through all these different passages over these next few weeks. Grateful for Brian Mrazek kicking off our series last week as we get into my grown-up Christmas list. I want to start by asking a question. Have you ever seen these awkward Christmas photos? You know what I mean? These people that dress up in horrific garb and somebody takes their picture for a family album or whatever, then it ends up online and then they make calendars of it. We have a few of these pictures right now. Here's one. This is a really good one here. Okay, this family, the kids are really excited. And here's the next one here. This is a good one as well. Oh my, that's just, you know, if this is you, I'm sorry, okay, but you had it coming. And then this one got taken recently. Yeah, that's right. Anybody's possible. We went back and visited family last week, and my in-laws have gotten a dog, and we happened to be dressed alike that day. So, you know, you got to take the photo. So there you go. Well, maybe you've been a part of these Christmas photos. Maybe you have seen the Christmas photos. But more than awkward Christmas photos, we have all had awkward Christmas moments, right? Well, you got that crazy uncle that always says something that makes everybody feel uncomfortable, right? Or you got somebody that doesn't talk at all and makes everybody feel uncomfortable. Somebody that brings something to Christmas dinner that you think, that's not even edible. I don't even know why that's here, but, you know, we got to act like we eat it, right? And so you're slowly throwing it in the trash to make it look like somebody ate it. Everybody's got those kind of moments. And my hunch is you've got some people coming to Christmas dinner or Christmas Day or a Christmas office party, whatever it is, that you're not excited to be around. Because there's just some tension. You've got that aunt that gets all of her facts from Facebook. okay? You're going to hear about conspiracy theories and UFOs and chemtrails and all the kind of things. You got a brother-in-law who still owes you money, and he's going to ask for more of it when he's around you over Christmas. You got a sister who never said she was sorry for something that happened back in junior high, but you're holding on to it, right? It's painful. And a lot of us are going to have these awkward kind of family moments. Well, I have some good news for you. I've recently learned of a drug that has come out that can help you in your Christmas difficult, awkward moments. Take a look at this little infomercial.
I just never thought it could happen to me, to my own family. It just felt like we were trapped in this black hole of anger and resentment. Like the walls were just closing in on me. Like I was in the trash compactor from Star Wars, and I'm Luke Skywalker, and there's Princess Leia, who I don't know is my sister yet, and even though Han Solo's trying his hardest to save us, he's driving me crazy. And then there's Chewie in the corner just going, roar, roar. Anyway, then the holidays roll around, and it's just like Christmas to bring out the worst in all of us. All those long-standing grudges and unresolved family conflict just seem to rear their ugly heads this time of year. The last thing I wanted to do was go to the annual family holiday party. Then my doctor told me about Reconcilosec.
Reconcilosec is the safe, easy, and effective way to bring relational reconciliation to you and yours during the chaos that Christmas brings. Reconcilosec is recommended for all occasions where friends and family need a little help getting over those long-held resentments and bitter grudges. Reconcilosec is not for people who are dating or engaged or may become engaged during the holidays. Reconcilosec should never be taken with in-laws. In lab tests, in-laws taking Reconcilosec showed no improvement over those taking a placebo. Relational conflicts involving money or inheritance also showed no improvement. Take Reconcilosec at least 30 minutes before any anticipated conflict. Sharing Reconcilosec with others may increase your chances of reconciliation.
So if you're looking for immediate reconciliation with the ones you're supposed to love, look no further. Ask your doctor if Reconcilosec is right for you.
Thank you, Reconcilosec!
Ask your doctor about Reconcilosec. Side effects may include excessive hugging, chronic hand-holding, inexplicable affection for in-laws, and sloppy kisses from aunts and grandmas. Exceeding recommended dosage may result in marriage proposals or pregnancy. If you experience a reconciliation lasting more than 24 hours, that means the drug is working. Other side effects include dry mouth, headache, diarrhea, diphtheria, vomiting, dizziness, earache, nosebleeds, loss of vision, loss of hearing, euphoria, sudden paralysis, leprosy, and plague.
There you go. You can order it now. Well, this Christmas might be tough for you, not just because of what's going on around you, but what's kind of going on within you. And here's what I mean by that. You think about your Christmas, and it's not fear that sets in, but more of anxiety. Maybe for you, it's the constant barrage of people, and you're more of an introvert. Or maybe for you, it's the lack of people you'll get to see. Maybe for you, it's the baggage of Christmas past, or maybe it's the unknown of Christmas future. Maybe it's the lack of presents under the tree, or maybe it's the fear of how to pay for the presents under the tree. You see, for all of us, we have something that's kind of making us nervous about Christmas. And my guess is that some of you are wondering if this is the last Christmas you're going to spend together as husband and wife. Many families that are in that kind of dire straits say, let's get through the holidays and then we'll tell the kids. But maybe at least one of you is wondering, is there any way we can preserve this? Is there any way that they might go to counseling? Is there any way we can keep this together? And you're trying to figure out, what do we do? And that brings tension. And maybe for you, it's not so much of this anxiety, but more if it's this depression of an empty chair. This is the first year without grandma, or without a spouse, or without a loved one. Maybe a daughter or son can't come home for Christmas because of where they're stationed around the world. Or perhaps the tension of a terminal illness is making you wonder, is this your last Christmas? I mean, besides all the tension you already have in the world and the economy and the family, I mean, it weighs you down. In fact, the Bible says it this way, that an anxious heart weighs a person down. And I think every one of us have had that moment where we felt that way. And maybe on top of all of that, you just kind of got some seasonal depression going on. I mean, the days are shorter, there's less sunlight, you're struggling to get out of bed these days, stress and worry are overwhelming you. You put on some holiday music, and what do you hear? I'll have a blue Christmas without you, right? That doesn't help anybody, right? And maybe for you, it's not so much a blue Christmas, it's more of a red Christmas because you're going to be angry the whole time. Or it's a green Christmas. You're going to be jealous the whole time because there's people at your holiday table that have things you don't have or at stages in your life that you're not yet at. No wonder on our grown-up Christmas list is the word peace. We'd just like some peace. And can I just tell you that that's exactly the way the first Christmas was too? I mean, the young couple at the very first Christmas experienced a stress not unlike the times in which we live. They lived in a world of extreme tension and longed for peace on earth and goodwill toward men. Political things were crazy, and it was a time of incredible tension. And I want to read to you what the Dr. Luke writes for us in his biography about Jesus. And he's writing this to a guy named Theophilus so that he would hopefully believe in Jesus like Luke has come to believe in Jesus. And he wants to get the facts straight. And he begins to communicate to him exactly what we need to hear about this first Christmas. Let's read this together. Here's what it says. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. Let's stop right there. The Roman world's pretty big at this time. It's the largest empire of its day. It's overtaken pretty much everything. And then you've got this guy named Caesar Augustus. And this is a guy that was the adopted son of Julius Caesar. He's the one that took out Mark Antony, Cleopatra. He lived during that time. This is the guy in charge, also known as Octavius or Octavian. He didn't want to be called an emperor, so he settled for Caesar, but he was arrogant enough to name a month of the calendar after himself, known as August. This is the guy that's in charge. Now, here's what I love about this. Luke does not start off the story of Jesus with once upon a time or a long time ago in a land far, far away. He starts off with, here's the date, here's the time, here's the emperor, here's what's going on. So everybody reading this is thinking, I remember those days. I knew exactly what was going on there. This is a historical event. He gives us more. He says this is the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. So while Rome overruled everything, they put in these little governors here and there. There's the one they have. And everyone went to his own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea in Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. Now this is so cool because the word Bethlehem, it means house of bread. What's one of the terms that Jesus gives us for himself? Bread of life. The bread of life is born in the house of bread. Just really cool Bible trivia there for you. Just to see how God is weaving this story together. And he has to have Joseph and Mary move from this place in Nazareth all the way back down to Bethlehem where this is going to take place because of the census that's being taken so Rome can get more money out of their people. And now, Joseph and Mary have to begin this journey. And he went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. In other words, they were still engaged, and she's expecting a child. All right, let's stop right there. Most of us in here have heard the facts of Christmas. But today, rather than just the facts of Christmas, I want you to think about the feelings of that first Christmas. And here's why. Because you're feeling them too. Even us guys who don't want to talk about our feelings, I'm not going to ask you to say anything, but I think you can connect with what's going on in the first century. First of all, they're feeling a political tension. Joseph and Mary were Jews living under the iron rule of the oppressive Roman government. They're feeling a financial constraint as well. This collection of an unexpected tax had to add a ton of pressure on them. Can you imagine if the government came out and said, we're going to have another April 15th coming around. We need you to find more documents and more receipts. I mean, think about it. We don't celebrate tax season as it is right now. No one's writing carols about April 15th, right? Write my check to Uncle Sam, fa la 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 la. No one's joining in with that. No one's excited about that. And if they come out and said, we're going to do it again, None of us would like that. And they didn't like it then. Not only that, you have this concept of fear over faith. They were literally dealing with this out-of-the-blue pregnancy. An angel shows up unexpectedly and informs Mary that even though she was a virgin, she's going to give birth to the Son of God, and that she would have a baby conceived not between her and her soon-to-be husband, but between her and God. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine having to try to explain that? And that was a joy-filled time for Mary because she has this awesome privilege of carrying the Messiah, but she also has to have a tremendous amount of stress. I mean, try explaining that to her parents. Try explaining that to her fiance. And then you got to think about Joseph. He's got to be wondering what's going on. An angel has to convince him, hey, this is legit. She's actually pregnant by God. And while Joseph comes to terms with it, can you imagine him and his carpenter buddies talking about this? And they're like, you're telling me, you guys never, and yet she, oh, come on. Wake up and smell the Starbucks, buddy. This is not working. This is not the way it is. She has been unfaithful to you. You need to dump her. And then on top of all that, they have to take this very unpleasant trip. From Nazareth to Bethlehem was not exactly like driving up the coast. And there's no quaint bed and breakfast around. This was a rugged 70-mile, mostly uphill, thief-infested, week-long journey. And this is not in a luxury SUV with leather seats. It's on the back of a donkey with a leather saddle. This is what they're living. And you can bet she felt every bump along the way. And I bet Joseph was praying, oh, please, God, don't let this baby be born here. And this is the first time that a woman says to her husband, did you call ahead for reservations? And the answer is no. And now they've got to get to this place and they find themselves at this cave because there's no room. Now, when we see the manger, we see the nativity scene. It's this beautiful little stable where all the animals are well behaved and smiling and halos over their head. And they're speaking to each other. Do you hear what I hear? Oh, I do hear what you hear. You know, it's this weird kind of intermingling, right? That's what we see. But what's really going on is they're shoved out in this cave where animals would go to hide out during a storm. And they have to use a feeding trough to put Jesus in. If there's anything on their grown-up Christmas list, it is for peace. I mean, we'd love to have a room, we'd love to have a bed, but the reality is we just want peace. My feeling is that's what you want this Christmas. You want peace with that brother-in-law that drives you crazy. You want peace with your parents that still compare you to your sister or your brother. You want peace with your spouse. You want peace with your ex. You want peace with your kids. You want peace for your future. And some of us want peace just with the grieving we're still doing over the loss of somebody who won't be with us this Christmas. So what I thought we'd do in the time we have remaining is look at a passage that the Apostle Paul writes to give us peace. He's writing to a group of people that are going through very difficult times. They're being taxed up to 40 to 60% of their income. They're living after an earthquake. They're rebuilding their lives, and they're feeling a lack of peace. And he begins to speak to them about what it is they can do to find peace. And I want to walk you through this passage, and then I want to give you 4 things that I believe will not only change your Christmas, but can actually change your next year if you begin to do these things. Here's what the Apostle Paul says to a group of people looking for peace. He starts off with, I want you to rejoice in the Lord always. I'll say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. Now let's stop right there. Because back then, they would not be able to highlight anything. No one had come up with the highlighter. So the way that you highlighted something or yelled off the page was you would repeat it. And so Paul says, rejoice in the Lord always. I'll say it again, rejoice. To which they're saying, Paul, we're in some pretty dire circumstances here. To which Paul would say, I'm writing from prison. So there, okay? I think I can one-up you on that one. And I'm telling you to rejoice always. Let your gentleness be evident to all. Now, why would we do that, Paul? How could we possibly do that? In light of all the things we have going on, how could we ever find the kind of peace that allows us to rejoice and let our gentleness be known to everybody? And he says, I'll tell you how. Because the Lord is near. How can he say that? Because of Christmas. Because Jesus was born and he grew up and he walked amongst us and he taught us how to live and he died our death and he came back from the dead and said, I am with you always. And now Paul can say to them, no matter what happens in your life, no matter how good it is, how bad it is, how clean a bill of health you have, how bad of health you have, how great your job circumstance is, how bad it is, how much tension you have in your family, how happy your family is. The reality is, you can still rejoice because the Lord is near. He is with you. Emmanuel means God with us. And now everybody's thinking, okay, so what does that do for us? And Paul says this, do not be anxious about anything. Don't be anxious about anything. Don't worry about anything. But Paul, what if? I know, but who cares? Don't be anxious about anything. But in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Then what will happen, Paul? Well, I'll tell you. And then the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. That's the payoff right there, friends. That's what we all want. We would love it if the peace of God would overcome our lives, would guard our hearts and our minds. And he says, I'm telling you, don't be anxious about anything. Present your requests to God, and then you're going to have the peace that only God can bring. And then he just throws in this one last thing as a for good measure. He says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. If there's any section of Scripture you memorize that one. It can change not just your Christmas, but your life. So what do we do with this? Well, I want to encourage you this Christmas season to stay calm. Okay? Not stay calm and party on or eggnog on or whatever, okay? Stay calm. Now, I want to share with you something that I picked up from this incredible resource, this book by Max Lucado called Anxious for Nothing. And he gives us these 4 kind of a little to-do list of an acronym off of CALM. Here's the first one. Celebrate God's goodness. You got tension in your family? Celebrate God's goodness. Now, between you and me, we used to have this family member in our family. He's no longer part of our family. That's a discussion for another day. But every time he showed up, everybody's temperature went up. My wife and I had a code word for each other we would share when tensions got too high just so we could make each other laugh. And the word was ham. You know, it doesn't matter what was going on. If somebody's getting angry, she'd look at me and say, I wonder if we're having ham for dinner. And, you know, and we'd just kind of laugh and the tension would calm down. I know, it's juvenile, but it saved Christmas several different times. I want to give you something better than thinking about ham, okay? I want you to think about God's goodness. And what he says here is, I want you to rejoice in the Lord always. Here's the problem you and I have when we're in difficult circumstances. We think we can control it. We have an unrealistic view of how much we can actually control in our lives. Whether it's our health, our finances, our families, our school, the moment things go out of control, anxiety takes over. Stop rehearsing the chaos of the world and celebrate God's goodness that we see. In other words, stop fixating on what might happen and focus on what God made happen. Stop fixating on what might happen and focus on what God made happen, because he's done incredible things around us. Start rehearsing the goodness of God. And that might be things like things you love, whether that's food or sunny days or going hunting or football or whatever it is. Think about God's goodness in your life. And I'll give you something even better than that. Friday night at our women's Christmas banquet, my wife was there and came back and shared with me this line from the speaker, Margaret Feinberg. This was just fantastic. She said, when you go through crisis, You can focus on the crisis or you can focus on Christ. You can't do both. And I would encourage you to celebrate God's goodness by focusing on what he did through Jesus. In fact, let the Christmas songs help us out. I mean, think about songs like Peace on Earth and Goodwill Towards Men and All is Calm and All is Bright. Maybe you go a little bit more mainstream and you think about Raindrops on Roses and Whiskers on Kittens, brown paper packages, warm woolen mittens, whatever the song is, right? Some of you might go so far as Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer or whatever. I don't know. Whatever brings you joy, right? Okay? Celebrate God's goodness. Here's the second thing. Ask God for help. Here's what he says. Let your requests be known to God. You see, when anxiety is setting in, we need to take that to God. There is power in speaking out loud our burden and asking the one who is in control to take the weight of it. Now, here's what you and I always do. We just ask him to fix it the way we'd fix it. But sometimes God will fix the problem, and sometimes he'll give you the strength to endure the problem. Sometimes God will take the burden away, and sometimes he'll take the weight of it away. And one of the ways he does that is with people around you. That's why church is so important. Because when you're around other people whose faith is strong, it lifts your faith. When you're in a small group of people that love you and care for you, when you have that prayer request, you can text that over to them. Now they're helping you carry that weight. God is using them to be his hands and feet to the answer to your prayer. He's either going to take the burden or he's going to take the weight of the burden. So ask God for help. Here's the third thing. Leave your concerns with him. Leave them with him. Much like if you took your car into the shop to have it fixed. There's a rattle in there, something's going wrong, you don't know what it is, but you take it into the shop, they say, great, we're going to pull it in right now and start working on it, and you say, okay, and you walk around and stand next to the mechanic. I just want to watch you work. Well, we don't really do it that way. Yeah, but I kind of want to give you some advice as you do this, all right? Do you know how to fix it? No, that's why I brought it to you, but I got a way I want you to work on it, though. Maybe you got to start back there. Well, it's not back there. It's up, if you started doing that, they would look at you like you were crazy. And that's what we do with God. God, take this, and let me tell you how. I have this friend of mine that said to me this way, what I've learned to do is when I pray, I give things to God, and then if I start to worry about it, I feel like God's saying to me, that's none of your business. Because we've made it God's business now. Leave your concerns with him. Here's the last one. Meditate on good things. Meditate on good things. Think about the things that are good. Now, we all know how to meditate. Even if you're weirded out by that word, you meditate. You know how I know? Because you worry. Worry is just meditation on something that's bad. And we have a gravitational pull to the negative. And this keeps us meditating on the chaos instead of Christ. We overthink, we play reruns of our hurts instead of focusing on the good. But instead of focusing on the negative, Paul gives us a list of the positive. Whatever is true, whatever is good, whatever is noble, whatever is praiseworthy, whatever is excellent, think on these things. This Christmas, look for the good. And we've talked about this before. The difference between the buzzard and the hummingbird. The buzzard spends all its day looking for something that's dead. And the hummingbird spends all its day looking for something that's sweet. And they both find what they're looking for. You can find bad stuff out there. You can prove your case as to why you're right and everybody else is an idiot. Or you can focus on what is good. And friends, that is exactly what Mary did the first Christmas. She could have focused on all the negatives. I can't believe we didn't have a room. I can't believe this no good soon-to-be husband of mine didn't call ahead. I can't believe he took me down here on a donkey. I can't believe that the only people that showed up were a group of shepherds and they stunk and they brought their animals with them. But instead it says this, Mary treasured up all these things in her heart and pondered them. She meditated on the good things. You want to change your Christmas this year? You want to find peace, not just this Christmas, but also in the coming year? Stay calm. Lean into the good things of God. See what he has done. Let him take the burden and the weight off of you. Meditate on the good things that he has already completed in your life. You can focus on the chaos or you can focus on the Christ, but you can't do both. So here's what we want to do right now. we want to focus on Christ. Every week around here, we take communion together as a way to remember Christ's sacrifice for us. And if you've got those elements on the way in, you can take those out right now. And if this is new to you, this will be a great chance for you to finally say yes to Jesus. To simply say to him, I'm ready to make you the leader and the forgiver of my life. And for those of us who've already made that decision, we want to take this opportunity to remember what Christ has done for us and to celebrate this goodness.